What's up, everybody? Welcome to K&J Studios. It's your boy Jay.
It's your girl Kaya.
And today we have an update.
So, there is a new Star Wars Disney Plus animated series featuring Darth Maul reportedly in development right now. So before we get started in this, I just want to say, for those of you who are not following us on Instagram, make sure you follow us because we have not reached 1,000 subscribers yet. We are able to make polls and stuff for you guys to see what kind of content you want to see, and also keep you up to date with what's going on with the content, because there might be some days where we're having errors, posting stuff like that, so at least you know what's coming up next and what to look forward to. So if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe. And for our subscribers, welcome back. And make sure you definitely check out our Instagram and follow us there. Alright, so continuing on. So what do we know so far about this new animated series?
According to Cinelinx, a new animated series featuring the Crimson Dawn Syndicate, the Crimson Dawn Crime Syndicate, which Darth Maul runs. So, for all those who aren't familiar with the Crimson Crime Syndicate, you would need to go to, I believe it was the Clone Wars around the final seasons when Darth Maul officially separated from the Sith, and he went to Mandalore. He took over Mandalore and ultimately began running the crime world from that point. So that's the Crimson Dawn Crime Syndicate, and it was that way until Darth Sidious came in, killed his brother Savage Opress, and sort of just killed the whole operation.
Right.
So for those who don't know who Darth Maul is, Darth Maul is one of the more talented bladesmen within the Star Wars universe. He is known for the famous double-sided blade, being one of the first ones to utilize that form of blade.
Right.
He's originally from Dathomir. His brother is Savage Opress, who was ultimately killed later on, also a Sith as well.
That's actually sad.
Yeah, it was. But when ultimately, when he separated from the Sith, he sort of became a lone wolf. Eventually, so he was no longer a Sith by the time, so he left the dark side essentially. He was no longer a Sith, but he wasn't necessarily on the light side either. He was not a Jedi. He did not switch over. He sort of just was doing his own thing, venturing out on his own, sort of. If anything, he wasn't much different from Ahsoka.
Right.
Not really associated or affiliated with anybody, really just trying to complete what it is that they feel that they want to do at any particular time. But it was based around vengeance and anger. He wanted to absolutely destroy. Obi-Wan Kenobi because of what happened in the first movie. So he wanted to destroy Obi-Wan Kenobi. He wanted to destroy the Sith as well. So when for those who don't know his story, he believes eventually that Luke Skywalker is the chosen one, since Anakin turned over to the dark side, eventually becoming Darth Vader. For all y'all who don't know, everything that was going wrong in Star Wars Episode 3, let's just say Darth Maul was a menace.
And the crazy part is, if you have not seen the Clone Wars, like the animated series, definitely watch it. So a lot of us thought that he had died when we had seen the movies, because they really didn't show him a lot in the movies in the first place. So we really didn't see
he was only there for the end of Phantom Menace,
right?
And he was killed then. So that's one thing that I didn't like about Star Wars, is that they didn't. The way that the things that they're doing now, they should have done back then, because Darth Maul was really he was really made to look like a little character, a guy who came and went. Like you don't really understand. Okay, this guy was. And
I actually like to see him in the movies because he was really dope. So I mean, we didn't really get to see a lot, but his story actually runs really deep, and you can see that in the Clone Wars and stuff like that when they go more into like his story, what happened to him after that point from the movie. So I think it was actually really cool, and I really enjoyed that part from the series. That's why on this channel we really like to tell you guys when we do these videos on Star Wars to definitely watch Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and stuff like that.
It's so important because Clone Wars is really the bridge that brings everything together. Like a lot of people have an issue with the Book of Boba Fett. It's because you don't know who Boba Fett is. You got to go to Clone Wars to actually see sort of who he was and why he is the way that he is. And then you look at the same things like when you look at Ahsoka. How are you going to watch the show Ahsoka when it drops if you haven't seen Clone Wars? Kenobi. How are you going to watch Kenobi when they're bringing back Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen as Vader, Anakin, and Obi-Wan Kenobi? If you haven't watched Clone Wars, it's a huge bridge. It's essential to understanding the characters that they're about to be going into later. And a lot of people don't understand Darth Maul was very much a Sith. And that's the difference between the Sith and the Jedi. Is the Jedi operate sort of with the Force, but the Sith, they operate with their minds. So a lot of people don't realize how smart Darth Maul was. He was calculating with every move that he made, hence how he wound up taking over Mandalore and ruling and beginning the Crimson Crime Syndicate, which we're gonna find out about hopefully in this show. Right. He's a very, very intriguing character, and like I said, everything, it seems like once you know Clone Wars, you realize he was a menace during Star Wars Episode 3. He was causing a lot of stuff. And he knew a lot too. Like he knew Anakin was gonna turn to the dark side. Like everything that Yoda knew, and Darth Maul knew as well. Yeah. So that just shows you how not only intelligent but forward thinking he was, and how advanced he was, especially as it pertained to knowing the Jedi and knowing the Sith so well. Right, exactly. And so, I mean, I think this is going to be one of the, I would be excited to see this series, honestly, because there's just so much to the story that I feel like a lot of people will probably see that and be like, well, why do we need an animated series? But if you actually see like the type of impact and what he was actually doing, it was just kind of like, it's important to get that information, especially now that we're getting the live actions and stuff like that. I just think it'd be really fun to just really link this stuff together. You have a lot, and on top of that, don't be surprised if you see an appearance of not only Savage Opress, but of Asajj Ventress as well. Asajj Ventress is his sister, technically sister. Yeah. She's a Night Sister, so. But if you see Asajj Ventress, and Asajj Ventress is one of my favorite characters, especially as she goes for it and winds up becoming a bounty hunter. So. And she's also one of those misunderstood characters where it's like, okay, she could have been a Jedi, but this is something that the Jedi did wrong. That's what I love about Clone Wars. They really go into the stories. It really get you like, dang, so that's why the way that they are and stuff like that. It really puts a lot of context into like who they are and stuff like that. So. But this show would be, especially since you get to see more of Bo-Katan, you can see a crossover between the Mandalorian. And the Mandalorian, the Crimson Dawn Crime Syndicate. Bo-Katan was on Mandalore during that time, so you would see a younger Bo-Katan at that time. Right. Obi-Wan Kenobi obviously mixed in because Darth Maul is known for being vengeful, and obviously he's lost his legs because of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So his whole lower half is gone because of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. So we're going to see a crossover between those two. So are there any... And who knows? We might even see a Darth Maul versus Darth Vader situation as well. Because he does have beef with the Sith. And it's very rare during the era of the Empire, that Lord Sidious would get in any sort of hand-to-hand combat situation. So we could see a clash between two of the better bladesmen in Star Wars history. That's true. For now, we're going to talk about the voice actors. So was there anyone announced to play any of the roles for this series? Let's see. There were a couple of voice actors that were named, but they're recording for an upcoming animated Star Wars series, but we just don't know what series that is. We don't know if it's they're recording for the second season of the Bad Batch, or we don't really know if it's for the Darth Maul series either. So it's really just like up in the air. But as it stands right now, there is no one announced to play this role so far. So the next question is, has Disney announced it? Nothing has officially been announced yet, but because the Disney Plus Day is coming up, I believe next week, the Star Wars celebration is taking place in May. People are hoping that Lucasfilms will announce some of the upcoming projects that they have coming to Disney Plus. So I think, in a couple months time or so, we should get more information on it. And what I would think is they're not going to announce who the character of Darth Maul is until he appears in Kenobi. And the reason why I say that is because he is going to be in Kenobi, simply because of the time period in which Kenobi is taking place. Because of the time period in which Kenobi is taking place, Darth Maul has to appear. Because keep in mind, Ben Kenobi was found where? He was found on Tatooine trying to protect Luke Skywalker, trying to protect the child that I guess would bring forth Anakin's destiny eventually. To bring down the Empire, destroy the dark side, period. So Darth Maul has to appear. He will appear. Hence why when the teaser trailers were released, whose voice was narrating? Darth Maul's.
Yeah.
Anybody who watched Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, that's Darth Maul's voice. That was him speaking.
Yep.
So not only are we going to be able to see him in his own show, in his animated show, actually be able to sort of be the main character, which I believe he could. Because if you watched during Clone Wars, he had episodes of his own that he carried that the character carried very, very well. So I believe that he can do the same thing. It's just a matter of script, number one, because they've been slacking with the script as of recently with scripts. The main mistake that they can make with Darth Maul is him talking too much. And they made that mistake with Boba Fett. They had Boba Fett talking way too much. Cat Bane made an appearance in the book of Boba Fett talking way too much.
Yeah, those are usually the people that don't talk that much at all.
Yeah.
They're like
he does not.
Words.
Now when he does, now Darth Maul when he does speak is very intellectual. Everything comes out sort of at once and in order, very in line. Darth Maul is a very linear thinker, but his plans are always have many different branches.
Right. So
if he talks too much all the time, like fact of the matter is Boba barely ever talked. Like we found out there was news that was released that Timora Morrison was trying to remove lines from his script while Jon Favreau was gone. So he was like Boba doesn't talk this much. Yeah. And he doesn't. Which sort of had me thrown. I was like, Boba does not talk this much. If anything, Fennec Shand should be doing more talking. So that's one of the major mistakes that they can make in this animated series is having him talk too much. I know he's the main character, but that doesn't mean the main character needs to talk all the time.
That's true, and even we see in Mandalorian that a lot of people didn't mind the fact that there wasn't a lot of talking even in Mandalorian, like as far as even with his scenes, but it wasn't boring though. You know what I'm saying? It was interesting. So I feel like with Boba Fett, that silence is okay because that's his character. Yeah. So and
it sort of shows who Boba is, and that's what I sort of liked about this last the last episode is they sort of started to come back to the character that he was. Boba is a cold-blooded killer. That's who he was. Darth Maul is very much a cold-blooded killer. Darth Maul does have a soft spot, but it is a soft spot where he will still cut your head off in 2 seconds. Right. He almost killed his own brother. Right. So let's not. That's one thing that I would hope they won't do. Oh, let's make people identify and connect with. No. Darth Maul, you can connect with Darth Maul while he's killing people. That's just what he does.
Not only that, but just like his story in general.
His story is great. Like I said, I believe he can carry the show on his own.
Right. I mean, I was able to connect with him just based off of watching Clone Wars. Like his story in and of itself, I was like, dang. So there's really a lot to this guy, and it's really. Like, I'm telling you,
and a lot of in-depth emotions as well. Yeah. He genuinely felt betrayed by the Sith. Like he genuinely felt betrayed. He developed a vengeful spirit against the Sith. So being able to depict that, sort of showing his anger towards Kenobi, and ultimately he and Kenobi sort of awkward, not really awkward, but emotional. Right. Reconciliation at the end. So. The last time we saw Darth Maul make an appearance was in Solo, which is about nine years after the events of Star Wars Episode 3, so The Rise of the Empire. Right. This is sort of when the crime syndicate is at its height. Like I said, there's a reason Darth Maul was wreaking havoc in Episode 3, behind the scenes, based off of what we saw in Episode 2, in Clone Wars episode, in the second episode of the Clone Wars. The Crimson Dawn crime syndicate began, in a sense, during the Clone Wars. It was not at its full height until after the events of Episode 3, in which he escaped, and I believe he had a couple of run-ins with Ahsoka Tano, as well as a couple other people. Basically, in other words, he was a menace. Right. And so from this point, we are probably going to be picking up around that time, in the events of Solo, right? Sort of expounding on exactly what was going on in Solo, because I don't think a lot of people understood.
Yeah.
Solo did really bad. It was a movie that did really bad. A lot of people didn't see it.
Right.
I don't remember everything about it. I had to watch the video to refresh myself on his cameo, but it wasn't a great. It was good cameo. It wasn't a great cameo because there was really no context as to the timeline. I don't like him physically as a Darth Maul, but the voice of Darth Maul was definitely the voice was on point.
Yeah, for the animated series, I'm sure they'll probably, because not a lot of people have seen that movie, I'm sure they'll probably like kind of go back a little bit to give it more context and then go on from there probably. If they are planning on the series taking place maybe like after the Clone Wars, you might just have to reflect on, you know, what happened, you know, before that time. So as for the benefits of having an animated series over live action, as of now we've kind of been spoiled with seeing a lot of the live actions lately when it comes to Star Wars. But one of the benefits is definitely the cost is going to be lower than doing a live action, and especially with the pandemic and stuff like that, it'll give them more flexibility, and it makes it a little bit easier than doing live action, because we've seen delays and stuff happening with series and movies because of the pandemic, and also strikes as well. So animated series is going to make it a little bit easier. I know for me, when I thought about it, I was like, should we just get a live action? Because I would like to see the series in live action, honestly.
I don't think that they should do a live action, particularly because it's very difficult to... His fighting style is very athletic. And I don't know if there's, especially when you're talking about doing it on such quick notice, I don't know if it's anybody who can really dedicate themselves to his fighting style. Only because when you have things like Rebels and Clone Wars, we actually got to see unique fighting styles. And we got to see things that they could do and animated that they can't do in real life.
Right.
And Darth Maul, after he had his legs cut off, you know, the robotic legs, he develops a little bit more of, he's a lot quicker. He's not as robotic and as stiff of a fighter as he once was. Very difficult to portray that.
Yeah, I agree. That's just why I was just like, I mean, if you think about it, with and not to mention that'd be very expensive, and like the amount of effects and stuff that you'll have to use is very expensive, especially for it being a series that people wouldn't necessarily have to like jump to try to see. I think the animated series is better, so at least people watch and be like, okay, we want to see more of this, and maybe then they can consider doing like some type of incorporation.
I think he's gonna make an appearance. I think he'll make an appearance in Kenobi. I think that's all they need.
Right, I agree. So that's this information. That's really all we have right now, because it's still pretty fresh. Like we said, nothing's been, you know, announced by Disney, nothing like that. So right now, all we have is just like the initial news and predictions and things like that, what we think could be happening. But we'll definitely be back once it's announced and we have more information on it, because we think this is actually going to be a pretty dope series, honestly. Especially, I love Star Wars animated series. They usually do pretty well, so I have high hopes for this one.
Give Cad Bane a show, not live action animated. Cad Bane deserves one. He's too much of an in-depth character. He's the second, in my opinion, the second greatest bounty hunter that ever lived. Django, Cad Bane, Boba Fett.
I wouldn't mind a Cad Bane series. Because like, the thing is with Star Wars, there's so many good characters that you feel like a lot of them would be able to do good with their own series. So it's just kind of like,
and Cad Bane is one of those characters that that can hold his own.
Right.
When we were able to sort of follow Cad Bane when Obi-Wan Kenobi went undercover in Clone Wars, it was great. When you look at how old he is, Boba Fett calls him old man in episode 7. He is very old. Cad Bane was close friends with Jango Fett, Boba's father. And that was before Boba. And he obviously trained Boba in a sense when Boba after Jango died. So he is very old. And he's known by the time Clone Wars comes around for he finishes jobs. So he's obviously one of the best bounty hunters there's ever been. In my opinion, he was a greater bounty hunter than even Boba was. One of my issues I had with him, he talked way too much. Cad Bane, animated Clone Wars Cad Bane would have just killed. Would have just killed Vance.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he wouldn't have did no talking. The real Cad Bane would have killed one of them off rip just to make a statement. Where
that's
it's like, all right,
it seemed like he was trying to just be nice, like, you know.
Yeah, you know what? Stop, and I'm gonna walk away. No, that's not Cad Bane. Cad Bane is like, okay, I'm gonna kill someone. Then I'm gonna tell you, all right, back off. If you don't want to back off, I'll kill you too. Anybody else comes want to cause problems, I'll kill them too.
He came a little bit off. He came off pretty soft. When I saw him, I was like, oh, he about to tear something up. Nah.
I told TJ, I said, listen, he was slapping mamas, kidnapping babies, shooting Jedi, killing Jedi.
Yeah,
he was a Jedi killer.
And
there's a lot you can do with Cat.
Comment down below if you would like to see a series on him, because that actually would be pretty
that would be pretty. He's the only one where it's like, listen, no talking, just shooting.
Yeah, for real. So, if you want to see more background information on Darth Maul and get his full storyline, if you don't feel like having to watch Clone Wars, even though we do recommend
you got to.
There is a YouTube channel that I personally like to watch where he goes into different species and things like that. It's called MetaNerdz. He does a great job giving like a whole, summary or rundown on different characters' like life. And he actually did him as well, so I do recommend that. I'll link the video down below. And yeah, so check that out. Also, don't forget to follow us on our socials.
Like, share, comment, subscribe.
Interact with all of us. If you have any video recommendations, hit us up on there or leave a comment down below of other things you'd like to see. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos coming up.
Post with the thumbnail.